You guys won't believe this, but this deck can stop the entire meta with the help of Ukkomon and Lui. First and foremost, I want to give a huge shout out to Danny G at PPG because they showed me this build. Really cool stuff. I could not imagine that Rookie Rush made a comeback because of this. But once again, if you guys are also looking for tournaments to play, definitely join the GFG Discord as well. Links and everything will be left in the description box down below. So let's just get into the deck profile. All right, Digi-Egg cards. We're playing 4 copies of Ukkomon from BT14 and a Demi-Meramon from BT6. The Ukkomon is the main Digi-Egg card just because your turn once per turn, when a card is removed from your opponent's security, you immediately get to draw a card. So you're always chipping with your rookies, sort of controlling and attacking at the same time, and giving you that draw power is really crucial because you want to draw more cards and you find more pieces and make more plays. That's really what it's all about. Demi-Meramon is as a 5th egg so that you can gain extra 1000 DP when you attack a player, which is kind of nice. And you do want to maximize your egg capacity here at 5 with the Digi-Egg deck, just because you do cycle through it very, very quickly with the combinations of the other cards, which we'll talk about later on. Since this is Lui and Ukkomon's main deck, I guess these are actually the core engines as our level 3, where we're playing 4 copies of Ukkomon. This Digimon is very simple. It can Digivolve on top of any color egg, essentially for 0. And it has a your turn once per turn effect. When one of your Digimon moves from the breeding area to the battle area, you get to hatch an egg and then gain a memory as well at the same time, giving you a ton of value. And you guys can already see how this cycles through your Digi-Egg deck very quickly. The longer this card sticks on the board, the better value it is. You never really want it to get deleted whatsoever because it can continuously give you all those effects. As for our red rookies, we have Gilmon, which is the main one we're trying to Digivolve into just because it has that one attacking draw 1. Synergizes very well with Ukkomon because you chip away at your opponent's security, you get to draw 2 effectively all in one go. And this is your main draw power engine of the deck, which you always want to continuously see as much as possible, especially in the early stages of the game. Now let's talk about the Floodgate rookies. 4 copies of Gaussmon. Because we're playing a red base, therefore, we want to see Gaussmons as much as possible. Your turn, your other Gaussmons gets extra 3000 DP. If you ever get to build more Gaussmons on the board, pretty good. It can get stronger up to 5000 and continue to scale if you have multiples, which is kind of neat. And mainly it's because it stops the opponents from reducing Digivolution costs. That's why we mainly play this. And talking about that, we also have 3 copies of Ukkomon, which are a secondary one that does exactly the same thing, because of the popularity of training boosts in the current meta. So this is going to be a little bit odd because there's absolutely no level 4s, no level 5s, no level 6s. So let's just continue with our rookies as we sort them out based on what the Floodgate effect is really all about. 4 copies of Solomon. Because of a red base, we're playing more of this one. Players can't reduce play costs. This is really good at countering cards such as Death X or even Crossheart decks. Basically just not letting them play stuff for reduction is just really, really good. Same goes for this Chikurimon right here, which is why we play 3 copies as our secondary one as well. Then we got 4 copies of Gotsumon. Again, because it's red, that's why we're playing more of those. This one in particular, all players can play Digimon via effects. Now, we don't play any Digimon via effects with this particular deck anyway, so it's not going to hurt us at all, but this is exceptionally good, again, at countering the meta, especially when it comes to Lugomon or the Digipolice, because these decks play a lot from effects generally, and be able to stop that and put it as a whole really, really slows them down, and that's the main goal of this card overall. And this exactly the same goes for why we play 3 copies of Pomumon, because we want to see these as much as possible. So really, really juggle between which rookies you have depending on the matchups there. And then to round it all off, we got 3 copies of Chumon. Arguably, I might actually play Madoki or some other Floodgate instead that has a higher DP, just because Chumon is the weakest. It only has 1k, which makes it a little bit more easier to remove, but totally up to you guys when it comes to that. But it is your memory Floodgate against the opponent to stop them from memory gaining. I would even argue playing like a 4 copy of at least, just because it is kind of generic and really good at stopping those. So yeah, that's just my personal take on that part though. In case you didn't know, I actually opened up my very own merch store, and there you can find some awesome keychains, stickers, and memory markers like these. They even come in bundles, so be sure to check them out. And as always, thank you so much for the support, and be sure to stay tuned for more drops coming in the future. That's it for all of our level 3s and all our rookies. No level 4s like I mentioned, no level 5s, no level 6s, but there are certainly level 7s. 2 copies of Death-Eggs just because of the whiteboard meta right here. You can potentially reduce the play cost of this guy and play it, and then basically board wipe the opponent as well, which is really neat. But keep in mind, you do have Floodgates that stop any play cost reduction cards, so therefore it does affect you a little bit. Make sure you juggle between that in certain situations, so then you make sure that it's cleared against yourself, and then you can go for the Death-Eggs, which is always really good to blow up your opponent's board, basically. That's it for all of our Digimon. Let's talk about our Tamers. 4 copies of Lui. On play, it immediately lets you move one of your level 3 or higher Digimon from your breeding area straight to the battle area. It has a second effect. Your turn, when one of your Digimon moves from the breeding area to the battle area, you get to spend this guy to gain a memory. So then you can play it very effectively. There's really cool turn 1 combo play with this particular card, which I'll show you guys later on. But generally, this is what is mainly there to help you turbo as much as you can with your breeding as well. Then for our secondary Tamer, we got 3 copies of Digimon Emperor. It has a all turns when one of your opponent's Digimon that's level 5 or lower gets deleted, you get to spend Digimon Emperor to draw 1 card. We do have a handful of deletion effect, which is kind of neat to give us a bit more draw power, but mainly it is used to counter against opponent's decks that come out with a rookie straight from raising, because opponent's turn, when one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon is moved from the breeding area to the battle area, you immediately gain 2 memory to slow down certain decks, especially again when it comes to Ukkomon, as well as even Angels, Vaccine, anything that comes out as a level 3 is really, really good. And if you have multiples of these guys, you get to stack them up as well, which is really cool. That's it for all the Tamers. Let's talk about options. Because we're playing a red base, it means it gives us access to a lot of red option cards overall in this deck. 3 copies of Crimson Blaze, which is really good to counter against the wide format meta at the moment. You can reduce its usable cost as well at the same time when you use it. And really cool, the more stuff your opponent has on board, the more things you get to pop. 6k threshold DP, very, very strong because of that. Then I got 3 copies of Magma Bomb. Very simple. You get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DPs. Does come in clutch. This is sometimes a bomb, but sometimes helps you establish a bit more board control at the same time. It does have the effect when you would use this option cards. If you have a red Tamer, you get to reduce the cost by 1, which you don't really get to because we don't play any red Tamers overall. Therefore, you're always paying 6 costs. As for another 6 cost option, Atomic Megaloblaster, again, because of the wide format, you can actually choose any opponent's Digimon DP that equals to 10,000 or less, so you can rack up a bunch of stuff all at the same time and pop them and blow them all up in one go, which is always really, really neat. Now, normally I would include some of the tech choices of different cards that you guys can include for this particular build, but there's really nothing I would change about it. So once again, huge shout outs to Digi for providing me this list. But if you guys have any suggestions and recommendations, definitely let me know in the comments down below. So let's get into the combos and show you guys how this deck works. All right, combos and how to play this deck, but more so about like really just how to play this deck in particular and how it all works, because there's not really a whole lot of combos. When it comes to Mulligan and your starting hand, you really want to be seeing Lui. The more you see, the even better, just because it helps you turbo your raising and your rookies, and it's really sort of helping you let your rookies go attack and quickly and chip away your opponent's security, and you win from the game. And you use your different rookies to control the board while you're doing so, to slow the opponents down while you take out the security very, very quickly. That's why Lui helps you really accelerate that. So other than Lui, of course, you hatch your egg. The cards you also want to be seeing mostly are actually going to be your red sources stuff, because you want to be able to digivolve and then sort of climb a little bit, so then you can always push up and attack one at a time. So, you know, ideal first turn play is actually Digivolve into Guilmon right here, or any of the red rookies that you have, and then immediately just play Lui, push this up. You set your opponent to 3, but you get to suspend the Lui immediately to put them at 2, and it's already a very good tempo of a first turn play right there. Because then the following turn, you get to hatch your other egg, and if you get to find another red, you just continue to Digivolve. Throughout this entire time, you're just trying to give your opponent as little memory to work with as possible. And depending on the matchup, depending on the situation of what you have in their hand, if you know your opponent is setting up for trainings, then you know you would play stuff like Ukkomon to prevent them from sort of reducing the Digivolution cost. Same goes for Gaussmon here as well, does exactly the same thing. So you really want to identify the matchup, again, of what your opponent is trying to do. Otherwise, if they're playing stuff, then you want to be playing Pomamon and your Gotsumon to stop them. And you get to juggle. So look again, analyze the board state, know the matchup knowledge is very, very incredibly important, because if one of them, let's just say, they don't reduce any Digivolution costs in their deck whatsoever, then you know you can use those to chip away at them. Otherwise, like I mentioned earlier, you always want to be chipping away with Guilmon, because when attacking, you draw one immediately for free, and when the security card is removed from your opponent's security stack, you immediately get to draw one with the Ukkomon as well. If any of these survive, they're always going to be value because then it's an extra body that opponent has to deal with at the same time while trying to sort of play around any of these floodgates at the same time. Now let's talk about Ukkomon because it is Lui's partner after all. So if you ever do see Ukkomon, the earlier you can have it is also better just because every time you push up, you're always going to gain a memory of Ukkomon. You get to spin Lui, gain another memory, and be very efficient with those memory gains so you can continue and set it up here, right here. Based on what your opponent, again, is playing, you just chip away one at a time and just basically win like that, which is a very, very simple and linear strategy, which is just like the good old Rookie Rush. If your opponent has stuff that comes out as a level 3, play Digimon Emperor at times. And that is because not only it stops and sort of slows down their turn when they come out as a rookie, it forces them to digivolve into level 4 or potentially even build their stack in raising, so they're actually foregoing some of the when digivolving effects, which is really good for you. Or at the same time, when you delete a lot of the opponent's stuff, you can spend this guy to draw more cards, which is kind of neat because you have a lot of draw power. And then this is where the kill options come in based on the different situations. Always making sure you have a red source somewhere, whether it's a Digi-Egg or a rookie. Make sure you have that so then you can use these options to take out your opponents, control the board, delete the things that they need, and basically play like that. If the opponents sort of like game prolong a little bit and they establish a wide board at the same time, this is when you can drop your Death X in those situations and clear their board and continue to attack just like that again. So very, very thorough, very simple. Play the rookies, juggle between them, chip one at a time, and then make sure you just take out your opponent very, very fast. So with such a simple strategy, you guys definitely should check out the gameplay on how we stomp some of the meta decks right here, right now, and see it all in action. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.